In the movie Ben-Hur, one famous scene depicts an ancient Roman ship reaching the speed needed to ram an enemy. Wall Street Journal columnist Daniel Henninger wrote recently the left has hit ramming speed these days, hitting hard those who disagree with its viewpoints. Case in point, graduation season 2014 and its potential commencement speakers. The group known as FIRE, or Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, called it disinvitation season. After 2 months of protests over her role in the Iraq invasion, former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice withdrew as Rutgers speaker. Brandeis withdrew its invitation to Somali author and activist Ayaan Hirsi Ali, saying her statements against radical Islam were not in line with the school's core values.
People on campuses have become more and more used to the idea that they should only hear things that they're comfortable with. Regardless of who is on campus or who's doing the educating, the fact is the message is getting across from everything from, unfortunately, I think our high schools and definitely in college, that there are some views that are just so awful that they shouldn't even be heard on campuses.
FIRE's senior vice president Robert Shibley says it's a sad fact that on campuses today, conservatives and Christians are the most likely to face censorship or discrimination because of their viewpoints. FIRE's office is located across the street from Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the site where our founding fathers signed both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Shibley says America has strayed far from what our founders intended when it comes to protecting basic freedoms. Over the last year, conservative scholar and author Stephen Hayward found himself at a hub of left-wing thinking, the University of Colorado in Boulder. The university hired him as the first visiting scholar in conservative thought and policy. He says the school deserves some credit for thinking out of the box, but admits it wasn't easy.
It was quite a challenge. People joke that being a conservative at a campus like Boulder that has a reputation for being very far to the left, it's like being a rabbi in Mecca or something like that.
Hayward says one major area where the left is asserting itself on college campuses is gender definition. He says it's startling how gender denorming is now prominent. That's the belief that human beings can actually choose their gender regardless of their physical makeup.
There's lots and lots of courses on this. So I had said on a radio interview that I thought that there was a lot of this and that it was quite politicized. Well, that did not go over very well on campus. And first some students found some old writings of mine, and then a faculty member, a chairman actually of the faculty assembly, said what I had said on the radio amounted to hate speech. Well, this is preposterous. And he proposed trying to censure me until cooler heads prevailed.
Hayward says it makes sense he wasn't censured because of what's known as academic freedom on campus. But he believes the fact he was caught in a firestorm sends a message.
What it really showed, I think, is there is an impulse on many universities today to shut down academic freedom, to shut down free speech, to squelch any dissent from radical ideology. In other words, it's a new form of oppression, all in the name of ending oppression. It's very Orwellian. I think it's very dangerous and quite sinister.
Hayward and other conservatives have written extensively about growing attacks on academic freedom and free speech. They point to an undergraduate columnist for the Harvard Crimson who went so far as to write, "Let's give up on academic freedom in favor of justice." When an academic community observes research promoting or justifying oppression, it should ensure that this research does not continue. The student columnist focused on conservative Harvard government professor Harvey Mansfield. How do we get to the point where it's open season on anyone who disagrees with liberal viewpoints? Many believe the Obama administration's policies opened the door. They say the trigger event happened last year when the federal government and the University of Montana signed an agreement to end a 12-month investigation of the university over its handling of sexual harassment cases. The document is known as the Blueprint. It makes it easy to accuse someone of sexual harassment, and critics say it could threaten all kinds of speech protected by the First Amendment.
Things that people might say is sexist, all kinds of sort of strange things in certain circumstances, requesting a date, things like that. And so it was so broadly drawn and so carelessly done that it really threatened free speech on campuses across the country.
Shibley says universities around the country are confused about whether they're required to follow the so-called blueprint, and he believes that could lead to people on campuses being afraid to speak or write politically incorrect viewpoints. In addition, Hayward says the far left no longer tries to cover up, quote, its authoritarian streak in any kind of theory, except we're right, you're wrong, you must shut up.
If you dare to raise any objection or even questions about some of the radical dogmas on campus, like gender identity theory, but also global warming and even animal rights, I discovered to my surprise, people will say not just that you're wrong, but that you shouldn't even have the right to say such things.
And if you do, you may find yourself the victim of ramming speed. Mark Martin, CBN News, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Boulder, Colorado.